Hello everybody, thank you so much for joining us here in LiveFit Kitchen. We have Dr. Purcell with us today. Hello.
Hi Alicia and hi everyone.
We have a really fun little snack for you today. Now, of course, when you're on a nutrition plan, you're following portion control, and this is another one of those times where you can't eat as much as you want, but you can have some. It's a really tasty snack, and if you're going to a party and you want to take something along that everyone can enjoy, yourself included, this is a really fun little recipe. Tell us all about it.
All right, let me take you through the ingredients. So what we have are roasted and spiced chickpeas. We start with one 15-ounce can of chickpeas, rinsed and drained, 1 tablespoon of grapeseed oil, 1/4 teaspoon of cumin, 1/4 teaspoon of coriander, 1/4 teaspoon of ginger, and 1/4 teaspoon of hot paprika. All of those need to be ground because we want to coat the chickpeas, as you will see, and if they're in seed form, it would be too difficult to do. Also, we have 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt to taste.
Now, I prepared some of these earlier. You'll notice that this can is enormous. This is actually a 25-ounce can, and I bought a larger can so that I could show you the 15-ounce version here, but also have a few ready-made to try. And let me tell you, there were a few more earlier. We all tasted them before we started filming because they're really, really good. So what I did was I opened the can, obviously, poured it into the colander, and then ran water through until it was totally clear. And I came out with my chickpeas. Now, some people call these chickpeas, some people call them garbanzo beans, which is actually what it says on the can, but I promise they're the same thing. So how I put this together was I actually put the oil in first into the bowl, and I mixed the spices before I added the chickpeas, because obviously, you know, if you just sort of pour the oil on top and then put the spices on, a lot of it's not going to be as even with the flavors.
Right, some will be more on a chickpea and some will be less. So this is a better way to evenly distribute it. And she is putting the 1 tablespoon of grapeseed oil in the bowl, and then she's going to follow that with the herbs.
So it's 1/4 teaspoon of each, which is not very much. Now the recipe does call for hot paprika, and my local stores didn't offer me a hot paprika option. They just had regular, but it seems to still be quite spicy. So if all you find is regular paprika, I think you'll still get plenty of kick.
You'll be okay. And so the nice thing about chickpeas is that about a cup of them is 250 calories. So if you eat a cup, that's 250 calories, where if you compare that to your 1/4 cup of nuts, right, you're getting about 200 calories there. So that's the portion control ratio on those. Additionally, 1 cup of chickpeas has 12.5 grams of fiber, which is unheard of. I mean, an amazing amount. I mean, we're lucky if we get 3 grams of fiber out of a slice of bread or something. So when we're talking about 12.5 grams out of 1 cup of chickpeas, a lot. And that's also why they've got a good reputation for cardiovascular disease and helping lower cholesterol, be anti-inflammatory for the vessels.
Wow. Okay, so 1/4 teaspoon of each of our 4 ground herbs, and then 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And we are, of course, using sea salt, not table salt. And what you'll want to do, sorry, let me take this spoon. You'll want to just mix it around until all of the herbs are fully mixed.
Slurry there of herbs and oil.
Exactly. And you can already smell that this is just going to turn out great.
A little piece of trivia that you might not know, but ground coriander is actually the seed of cilantro. It has a completely different flavor than cilantro.
It sure does. So the chickpeas go in next. Pour them all in there. And whoops, you'll want to just stir them around.
There they go, rolling away.
And it did actually take me a couple of minutes to get all of the chickpeas evenly coated. And in fact, what I did at home was I used one of those latex spatulas to scrape the oil and the herbs off the sides of the bowl so that I could really, you know, get the most out of it.
Stirring them is worth it.
It is. Yeah, you want to get a really nice even coat. Good. So you can see they're all coated there. Now you'll want to spread them out on, I believe it's at an edged baking tray.
It's on a rimmed baking tray.
Pardon me. So spread them out, and you're going to cook them for 30 minutes at 425. Make sure every 10 minutes or so, give the tray a little shake. I'm totally going to cough. I'll be right back.
So if you use a rimmed baking sheet, what ends up happening is that as you give the chickpeas a little shake, they won't roll off and fly all over your oven. And so as we stir them and we lay the chickpeas out there, what we should have mentioned at the beginning of this was that you preheat your oven to 425. And so the chickpeas will roast for about 10 minutes, and every couple of minutes you give it a little shake, and then you just roast them in there, and they'll get really nice and toasted like you see here. So you pull the chickpeas out of the oven, you let them cool, because if you sample them ahead of time, you'll burn your tongue.
Oh, I did. I did exactly that. I pulled them out of the oven. Sorry. Plugging my microphone in, I did exactly that. I did burn my tongue. I pulled them out of the oven. I thought, oh, these look and smell so good. And I grabbed one and I put it in my mouth, and I heard the sizzle as it hit my tongue. And I went, wow, that's really hot.
And that's human nature, so don't make the same mistakes that we've made.
Please. The other mistake that I did make was I didn't let them fully cool before I put them into the container for storage. I ended up putting them into the container and leaving it uncovered, but I let them finish cooling in the container.
Leave them on the baking sheet, because these will stay fresh in the refrigerator in a container for up to 2 weeks. So if you do let them completely cool first, they will still be a little crunchy, whereas if you put them in the container, they get a little soggy.
Yeah, half of mine are crunchy, half of them are just that little bit soggy. Now, do cook them for the full 30 minutes as well, because I pulled a few out at 25 minutes because they looked done, and they really weren't. It really did need that extra 5 minutes. So I've already had a few. Go ahead and try them.
I think I will. I got a crunchy one.
And they are quite spicy. There is a little bit of a kick to this. So if you're not into spicy, or you have small children that are not into spicy, test them before you set them loose on everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.